This really might be the messiest Love is Blind season ever. Hey y'all, it's your captain for All Things Creative here with season 5, episode 7, Love is Blind Thoughts and Takeaways. If you are new to the channel, welcome. Please be sure, to like, subscribe, leave comments, and also share. If you are returning, thank you so much. You're a co-captain. And let us get into this video. Now, we left off with Uche and Aaliyah meeting up. And honestly, I was fearful about what they all had to say. And my fears were justified because basically they start talking, and Uche finally does take a little accountability and apologizes again for what happened with Lydia. Since the last time I saw him on the phone, he was basically blaming Aaliyah for the breakup, saying how you couldn't live with some random girl for one more day for me, but it's not, a random girl, someone he had very long affair with for several months, and then 3 months later, he's still, how they say, spun the block, and revisited their relationship. So he starts telling the backstory of him and Lydia's saga, which is very dramatic. And obviously, there's three sides to every story. It's gonna be his side, Lydia's side, and it's gonna be the truth. So this is Uche's side, and I really don't know what to believe. So Uche says he broke up with Lydia after he found out that she was invading his privacy. And she apparently apologized for this invasion of privacy. I think later on, Lydia claims that she just looked in one of his drawers. But again, we're back to Uche's side of the story. Then he said she apologized and seemed sincere, so he took her back. But then he said they had mutual friends that told him that Lydia was following their stories on Instagram, or he had screenshots or reports that she had been looking at their stories like intensively. That again, I take with a grain of salt because literally, if you're friends with people, their stories pop up like it's, I don't know. It's something people do on Instagram. You just, you look at people's post stories. Sometimes the stories you can, reply to. So maybe she had replied to some and they DM'd him, like the screenshots of reply. You can't see who's looking at your story, but really it's not that big a deal because obviously if they didn't want people to see, they shouldn't have posted it. But I digress. So the point that he has is that he got creeped out again when she was apparently following the stories of his friends. And then he also said that one thing that bothered him is she drove by his house and sent him a picture of his house from her phone and said, I see you or something like that. But they were having relations, so clearly they've been somewhere in either his or her house doing that. So again, I'm taking what he's saying with a grain of salt. Then he said he thought it was all unhealthy, but he still stayed with her and waited until she got into a better place, made more friends, and started getting therapy before he decided that it was okay to break up with her. Aaliyah then brings up that he also, Uche also did a little too much talking smack about Milton not being ready to get married. And also, Uche himself had said how he Wish the best for Lydia and how she deserved to find love. So Aaliyah brought that up to him and said, he did seem like he still cared about Lydia, especially when he was wishing her well in the pods. And lastly, Aaliyah also reveals that Lydia had told the other girls in the beginning that she had expected to see someone from her past there in the experiment. So she wondered if Uche and Lydia had plotted to be on Love is Blind together at the same time. And she said, y'all should have just did the ultimatum if that was the case. And when she says all that, Uche outright denies everything. And then he kind of airs his grievances to Aaliyah about her like blocking him on Instagram and him not being able to contact her for like the 48 hours after he was thinking about proposing to her. Then basically he dumps her once again by saying that's over between them. And I know that sometimes people want closure, but Aaliyah had already, told him on the phone that she did what she had to do for her safety. He was not very nice to her on the phone and said he didn't want to see her again. And, Aaliyah took the meeting and it didn't go well. So, for both their sakes, I just hope they move on. And this is all the closure they need because it just seems like they're just going to keep hurting each other if they keep going down this road. But it's their business. We don't really know them. So it is what it is. Next, Izzy and Stacy come up. They go to Izzy's apartment, and there's a lot of things that I have questions about, and Stacy had questions about in the scene. Most notably, he has what he calls a lost and found in his bathroom. He knows exactly where it is, and he opens up this drawer, and it's like this little plastic container with a collection of women's jewelry that was left in his apartment. And it's clearly women that he had relations with, and it's like very interesting that he's keeping these things. And Stacy even asked him, like, why didn't he just throw it away? Because if it's really lost and he doesn't plan on seeing these women again, he should not be keeping their jewelry. And there's really lots of things he could do, even if he didn't want to, throw it away. Maybe to contact the women again, or just, I don't know, do something other than that. Because worst case scenario, there are criminals who keep trophies, from their victims. So it does look very creepy knowing that. And less harmful, but still problematic, is the other chance that the owner of the jewelry is a woman that he does know and plans on getting back in contact with. So he's keeping it for her because he knows he's going to see her again. And the last option is maybe it's an ex that he's kept, the mementos of, because there are some people, they keep love letters from their exes. We saw last season that Jackie kept the ring from Marshall, So it could be a situation like that where he was like, give me back the jewelry I gave you, or the ring might be his own pinky ring that his ex got him. We don't know, but he's keeping these jewels for some reason. And Stacy really, you know, gets into her feelings about it later on, but she does also notice that his place is actually pretty nice besides the lost and found random jewelry collection. His place is way more, I guess, cozy than Milton's in the sense that it has a lot of accent pieces on like the walls, and a little more design went into it. But then apparently he has only like plastic utensils and like disposable plates, very paper plate and cup based in his apartment. So Stacy, you know, has the come to Jesus moment with Izzy about the jewelry lost and found, as she should, because I had questions. I'm not even dating him, so she definitely needs to ask me these questions if she's marrying him. And she's expressing that he, you know, should have thrown away this jewelry in her eyes because she would never keep around things of other men for him out of respect for him. So she's making it clear that she would prefer if he would throw this away. And then Izzy makes the argument that, well, he wanted her to see how he had lived before, honestly, so he didn't want to change anything or hide anything. But Stacy's like, nah, that's disrespectful. It's gonna make me look at you like you're on some messiness, if you're keeping these women's jewelry and it's showing your new woman, the old woman's jewelry, like she's not really feeling what he's doing with that lost and found situation. So then Izzy turns it around on Stacy and makes the confrontation more about her being mad at him because he asked her, are you angry at me? And then he further flips it by saying that, he felt judged, by the whole glass plate preference of Stacy, and he thinks that if she's gonna get upset about him serving her on like paper plates rather than glass, that she's gonna come across as more and more materialistic to him. And they go back and forth before Izzy just kind of starts arguing about just how she's talking to him and says, not to cut him off. And so she gets fed up and leaves, goes outside to cry. And he follows her to cry, but he cries kind of behind her, not comforting her for a while. And then when she asks to go home, then he hugs her and kind of says, well, I don't know if you want me around, but, I'm still here for you. And they hug a bit before the scene cuts out. Again, I do not know these people. And I was just going off of just my gut feelings and thoughts. Stacy is well within her rights to ask questions. Because as a woman, you have to protect yourself and be careful. And even if it's just the simple level of just disrespect, and her boundary being that she does not want his past and other women thrown in her face, Izzy needs to respect that. And just the fact that he didn't throw that stuff away right then and there, to me, it does make me wonder if he's planning on seeing one or more of these women again, which is why he's keeping their stuff, or if it's some kind of sticker trophy situation. Hopefully, it's not any of those things. And Izzy does throw away the jewelry by the time, they get to the wedding. We shall see. Next, we have Lydia and Milton. And Lydia takes Milton to meet her family. So, Lydia's mom asks Milton if he's happy with Lydia, and he kind of doesn't seem to understand her at first because I think her accent is even heavier than Lydia's. But he does say he's happy, and then the dad asks if Milton is aware of the serious aspects to marriage, and Milton answers both questions well, but then Lydia takes over to answering the questions a lot, so Milton will start to answer, maybe he'll say one sentence, and then Lydia will just start like a monologue. So this is the pattern for the rest of the questions, with Lydia kind of taking over answering. And then the mom asked Milton how many kids, they want to have. And they say that they both agreed to adopt one child and have like 2 or 3 together. And then the mom asked if the kids will be bilingual. And Milton answers yes, maybe like 1 or 2 words before Lydia cuts him off again to finish answering the question for him. And in this scene, I just feel like Lydia should work on her listening skills a lot more, because this is Milton's chance to, get to know her family. And yes, she's outspoken. And I know sometimes people say, well, people, well, sometimes y'all finish each other's sentences, but I don't feel like the first meeting, with someone's parents is the time to not let the person, get to show themselves to your parents and then let your parents get to see them, So she's kind of doing a disservice to both Milton and her family. So hopefully, she sees this and learns from this and learns to listen better. But really, I think she might have done it to kind of support Milton, like to show, that she's on his side with the whole, um, how awkward it could be meeting someone's parents. So maybe it was well intentioned, but it could also maybe feel smothering or disrespectful to Milton over time if it gets to be, a long term pattern of her always interrupting him or taking over when he's trying to talk. But the conversation besides that was pretty positive, and the parents, basically give their blessing to the couple, and they'll get lovey-dovey and emotional because they love each other. And when Milton sees, the parents getting emotional, he gets emotional too. He cries and says that he wants to have a loving family like their family seems to be. And then they all officially accept Milton and Lydia's relationship. They welcome into the family and seal it with a toast, which again was very cute. In spite of again Uche and Leah having this background picture of Lydia as a stalker that they're spreading throughout this episode. So next, the people continue the family meeting. Let me go back because it's Stacy and Izzy. They see her dad and a bunch of her sisters basically. And on the way, Stacy is shown saying that she's feeling all the feels, and specifically the Zaza Zoo with Izzy, which is a shout out to Sex in the City season 4, my favorite season, where Carrie talks about that feeling that you can't do without one another when you're just like crazy in love with the person. And she's like she needs a Zaza Zoo for her relationships, and even when the Zazazu runs out, the memory of the Zazazu can keep a couple going. So it's very important. And Stacy says she feels that with Izzy. She got the Zazazu. And then Stacy's family says that they know that Stacy's never expressed want to get married before and she's not rash. So they feel like she's serious. So they ask Izzy questions. Izzy says he never had a passport before since he wasn't financially able to travel before, but now he wants to catch up and do all the traveling that he never did. And the family said that's a good sign because Stacy also values traveling and loves traveling. So they wonder where he's at with his career and if he can be able to afford all the type of vacations that Stacy likes. And he says he started an insurance job, like his friend had called him and hooked him up with it. But then maybe after like 9 days, he left shortly to obviously do the experiment. But he says he still does have a job. He just hasn't been working at it long, I guess, with the insurance thing. So then they roast his plastic utensils and disposable tableware. And the family's like, yeah, Stacy likes nice things. How are y'all gonna reconcile, you being disposable and her being like platinum and glass and all this stuff? And they basically reassure the family that they already had this argument and resolved that issue of like, you know, feeling like Stacy is over materialistic about, having nice things and nice plates and things like that. And then Stacy even says that she cooked Izzy a meal after that fight as part of their makeup. And Stacy actually cries in front of her family saying that, she wants someone who's not going to give up and who's a fighter, and Izzy is that. So the sisters, I think, is buying it, but the dad is not buying it because it's clear that finances are an issue with this couple. And Johnny, again, had kind of mumbled early in the episode that Izzy has bad credit. I don't know if he told her that or if she got some kind of Equifax or something. I don't know what. But Stacy's financial needs and expectations are something that the dad wants to remind Izzy of. So the dad pulls Izzy aside and, you know, Izzy's dad's like, love is blind, but sometimes they want to be first class. So what are you going to do about it? Now, Izzy says for him, financially, the sky is the limit. Since even although he hasn't been, I guess, balling or rolling in the dough in the past, he thinks he'll be able to continue his climb up the insurance world, and he's gonna be able to provide for Izzy. And the dad says, he don't want to talk about money, but he is talking about money, and basically says that if Izzy fails to provide, then the financial support is gonna have to fall back to him. And of course, Stacy, who's already been working hard to get her dream home, so Izzy gotta stay serious. And the dad reminds him, please get his life together, especially financially, for them to work. And that is the scene with Stacy's family. So finally, this is the big scene where all the rest of the drama happens. The whole rest of the group from the pods meet up, and you see some of the guys from the pods gossiping about JP and Taylor breaking up. And it's interesting how, to me, it's been a lot of the men gossiping more, especially when Izzy and Chris were comparing notes about Johnny. I think the girls were more tight-lipped, especially Stacy. Stacy didn't tell anybody about her connections, and you saw Lydia didn't tell Leah anything about her and Uche until Uche dropped the ball. Then Lydia overshared, obviously, but it's interesting how the guys are gossiping a lot more to me. And next, you also see Johnny walk in. Speaking of her, and then Stacy in her confessional was being negative about Johnny, saying that Johnny's a joke to her. Since Stacy felt like she was a friend to Johnny, but then Johnny turned on her and started talking smack about her as soon as Izzy and her became a couple. And Chris then walks in, and Johnny kind of brags to the other girl that them two are back together and official now, which made my jaw drop because Chris chose not to get engaged to her. But apparently, he still gave her a chance after the pause because Chris is such a sweet and nice guy. I almost expect that of him because again, he was melting for Johnny even while, you know, trying to put up his walls. He was like, "Your voice sounds so nice." And I was like, "Oh, Chris, you clearly still like her a lot." So if he likes it, I love it. And Johnny clearly is happy about it because she's bragging about how they're boyfriend and girlfriend. In the confessional, Johnny even breaks down crying about how she found out just how good of a person Chris is, and he's clearly a sweet soul because he fosters dogs and he just was always just so sweet to her and never was looking at any other options really from what we saw. He was loyal and he gave her another chance when he didn't have to, so clearly he is a good guy. And then they're telling the group how they got back together basically in the airport because I guess Chris was on the phone talking to his dad, and I think Johnny recognized his voice, and he apparently grabbed her hand after talking on the phone. I guess they knew from then that they needed to be together, so they liked what they saw, and the voices clicked, I guess, in the airport. And this bothered me because then out of nowhere, Johnny smacks Chris in the face, and I think she was playing, but I didn't like that at all. I think that's disrespectful. Even if it was playful, it seemed kind of like she was, marking her territory or showing how much she was the boss in the relationship. 'Cause she's like, oh, basically forcing to get back together with me. She was bragging about it too, and I would not like it if my spouse smacked me on the face in public, even if he was playing. It's like so disrespectful. So I'm wary of Johnny's motives for getting back with Chris and her respect levels for him. And in her past, she does have a pattern of just like using men. Apparently, she had a whole husband rebound, since she only loved her deceased partner that had an overdose. That's what she said. So she can be with the man and not truly love him. And I just hope that she's not using Chris as a rebound. And that smack rubbed me the wrong way for sure. So hopefully she was playing. We don't know these people. Maybe that's how she shows love. It was a love tap to me. Please don't love tap me on the face in public. Next, Izzy starts being messy. And I was like, wow, the guys are so messy this season. Izzy confronts Johnny about her sketchiness and lies in the pods. And I don't know if he was drunk or anything, but I didn't like how he had that much smoke and negativity towards her if both of them had moved on. Because clearly Johnny's with her boyfriend, right? And Izzy's with his fiance. So I felt like it was a little too much drama and negativity for that situation where they're all supposed to be hanging out, you know, and they're with their partner. So then Izzy basically tells her that he did, talk and compare notes with Chris, and he did not like that she seemed to be basically sweet talking multiple guys. And I also found that hypocritical because Izzy was talking to multiple girls. Obviously, he was back and forth between Johnny and Stacy. And apparently, we find out in the honeymoon that he did consider Lydia seriously, even though it did not show in the pods. So he was also playing the field too. So I don't know why he's mad at Johnny for also playing the field. But Johnny then asked Izzy, why does it matter what she was doing in the pods? And then Izzy brings up that it matters because um, she was telling people the opposite things. And she says, no, I was not. And of course, production's going to roll the footage and show how Johnny, had told Izzy one thing that, like, oh, she usually goes for a safe bet, but she knows that to be happy, she has to go her guts and take a risk. And then after she got done, she told Chris, no, I usually take risks and I need to go with the safe bet. You're my safe bet. So she did kind of tell him the opposite. And then Johnny afterwards admits to Izzy, since he's not backing off that, yes, Izzy was her number one and that she did make up things to say to Chris because he was her number two and she had to reevaluate things after Izzy broke up with her. So she kind of owns it a little bit. But then Izzy, being so mean, still says, well, can I give you a piece of advice? And then Izzy's like, no, why should I take advice from you? And he's like, because everyone thinks you're sketchy. And he says sketchy as Fuck. So again, I hope he was drunk because this is not how you talk to people, especially people that, you claim to move on from. And Johnny is just gagged to the point where she doesn't walk away like she should, but she just says thank you. I would never thank someone for cussing me and cursing at me. But she says thank you sarcastically, because Izzy's out of line. And Izzy, again, he's giving bitter, he's giving very toxic, if not just drunk. Hopefully he's drunk, but could be a sign that he's also on the toxic train too, or has toxic traits. Not to say that, you know, he can't fix it, or this is not just a situational thing, that he's just in his feelings, but it's very, very negative. And they go back and forth a bit before Johnny finally walks away from Izzy because anybody talks to you that disrespectfully, you don't owe them nothing. Like, it's not her boyfriend, it's not her man, they're not even friends. Why do it? So she walks away. So then Chris comforts Johnny, and Johnny's very dramatic about it and cries and says, she felt like Izzy was kind of saying that she didn't deserve Chris, which he didn't say directly, but again, I think Johnny's projecting those thoughts and feelings onto Izzy because Izzy was being messy, but he was just calling her on her kind of two-facedness and double tongue, fork tongue speaking, all that stuff. So she clearly I think does feel like she doesn't deserve Chris. So it came up again and Chris just comforts her. And he's officially my favorite guy. He's so nice, so sweet. And then after causing chaos, Izzy gets up with Stacy and brags to Stacy about cussing out Johnny. And I don't know, Stacy switches to a southern accent in this moment and kind of just like tries to be a little bit lighthearted about it, but then she realized that Izzy is a little bit too riled up about it, so she starts asking if Johnny said anything about her. And Izzy said no, so then she's like, all right, if she's not talking about me, she's not talking about you, let it go. So she tries to steer him away from, talking about Johnny and giving Johnny too much feeling and emotion when like they are together. If it was me, I would have maybe asked to go home because, again, if Izzy was not drunk, I don't know where all this bad behavior is coming from. So if he's drunk, then they need to go home. He needs to go sober up so he's not disrespectful to other people. And if, you know, he isn't drunk, then Stacy needs to remember this, take a mental note, and just unpack more of this later because it's strange that he had this much smoke for Johnny. Then, as if that messiness was enough, Uche shows up to be more messy, makes a beeline towards Lydia, and just basically pulls her aside. And I already can't take it before the conversation starts. Lydia just starts off the conversation kind of on the defense because Uche's like, let's talk and, make sure you tell the truth. And Lydia's like, listen, I'm not a liar. And Uche says that, okay, I'm not saying you're a liar, but he wants her to talk about, the things that she did to him. And she's like, listen, I don't really want to do this with you. And then he's like, well, why do you think I feel this way? I feel like doing this. And he just starts playing mind games. Like, why are you quizzing her and doing all this? Like, she clearly, is in a relationship he saw her with Milton and knows they got engaged, but he's not even with Aaliyah anymore, but I think this is get back for, destroying the relationship with Aaliyah because he basically brings up how she invaded his privacy again and all the Instagram, I guess, story stuff with his friends. And then Lydia just walks away before he can play on her name and make these allegations and play mind games with her. Lydia calls off for Minton, who was in the bathroom at the time. But then when he comes out of the bathroom, he goes with Lydia to sit with Uche and her. And I thought it was sweet that Milton, was there for because it has to be awkward for Milton. And that Uche asks Milton if they can talk, because him and Lydia got things to iron out. Milton was very smart. I like this move and says, okay, well, we have plans in 10 minutes. And he kind of, I think he put a timer on his watch. Everybody be an Uber. But yeah, he, sets a line that, okay, whatever Uche thinks he's going to do, there's a time limit and Milton's going to stop it respectfully. So I like that move. I might try it when they say, okay, I got plans. Because I don't think they had no plans. They were just chilling. And then, what I did like was Lydia then chases Milton away, which I would have done because Milton came to protect her and he had, that brilliant move. And when he walked away, I don't know if he was upset. He might have been. But again, the 10-minute timer, I think, still stands. Uche then continues to bring up past mess with Lydia and he starts showing her, I guess, the screenshots from his friends. And Lydia basically is saying all the stuff don't make sense to her. So she leaves again while yelling for Milton. But surprisingly, Uche got to Milton first. And I'm wondering, how did he move so fast? It was literally like out of a movie. It's like, why did he race to go find Milton first? I think he definitely, wants to show Milton all the receipts I guess he has on Lydia on his phone. And really, all I could think about is that while Uche, you know, may really think that Lydia was invading his privacy and was a stalker, and if he thinks that he has every right to protect himself, but he needs to go to the authorities with all that proof or whatever he has in his phone, and then going, to Milton now is strange to me because he had ample opportunity, to talk to Milton and warn Milton about Lydia in the pods if he really thought that Lydia was this dangerous person. So just the fact that he's racing and beating Lydia to Milton now, to talk about her with these screenshots is just giving revenge. And both of them seem problematic to me. I don't know whose story to believe, but again, like I said earlier, there's his side, her side, and the truth, and it's somewhere in the middle because I don't buy Uche's story completely, and I do feel like where there's smoke, there's fire. So Lydia probably did things to make him uncomfortable, but now Lydia's moved on, and maybe Uche again is upset because he did not get to move on with Aaliyah and is going for revenge, but this looks like the next episode is going to be a smear campaign against Lydia now. And it just makes me feel like for both Izzy and Uche, they don't take rejection well. They don't take things going their way well. And I think we need to do better teaching boys and men these coping skills because even in my case, when I was like walking down the street one time, someone wanted to talk to me and I didn't want to talk to them, so I just like ignored them. This was in New York. And thank God I had like tapes, plastic stuff in my backpack because they threw a bottle at me for ignoring them. And it cracked one of the things in my book bag, but luckily I didn't get hurt. But a lot of these men don't take rejection well, and they get very funny and sometimes violent over rejection. And to me, Uche, I don't know him again. We don't know these people, but it seems like he's getting his revenge for the relationship with Aaliyah not going well because he had ample time to warn Milton again and to tell Aaliyah, and he didn't. So why now? So, like all of us, I think Uche could benefit from some therapy to let go of things. As he seems like he holds grudges and he does not seem to be handling the situation the most positively. And there are more productive ways to deal with a stalker than to go up to the stalker's new boyfriend or new fiance, at a party where both y'all are at in front of the person who's you're so scared of. I don't know. I'm not buying anybody's story at this point. I just want to see what happens next episode. Tell me what y'all think about the situation in the comments. And remember, no matter what, you are the master of your fate and the captain of your soul. Bye.